I really didn't know what to expect. The odd thing was that it was very beautiful. You're actually walking on dead men's bones, and yet you're looking out to see the sun shining. The terrain would have been like it is now 100 years ago before this battle took place, or battles. The original concept was really to go and paint plein air, to look at the landscape itself. And the subject matter for me was indeed the land, how it was different from Australia. I just wanted to paint the stuff as I saw it and as it had affected me.
I had always had an interest in going to Gallipoli with a group of artists and doing some plein air works, looking at the landscape of how it had changed. I really felt people had to stand in the landscape and get the feeling of the place. You can't do that unless you actually go there. You know, it's no good doing it from books or photographs, it's just void of any emotion. So I just felt that we had to go over there and stand there. And Your Friend the Enemy came from the letters that Idris had found of his grandfathers.
This is a letter from Gallipoli, from here at Hill 60, which my grandfather wrote to my grandmother, the girlfriend at that stage. Her name was Violet, and that's dated September 18, 1915. We had some fun in the trenches this morning. As you know, only a few yards separates us from the Turks, so we threw some tinned bully beef and jam over to them, and in return they threw tobacco and cigarette papers. A couple of the parcels had notes in them written in French. One ran something to this effect: "Our friends the enemy. We received your present of meat and jam, and in return send tobacco. Would be pleased if you could send souvenirs. Could you spare a good knife? We would be pleased. Your soldier friends, the Turks." We finished up with a message saying that we were going to end this armistice in a quarter of an hour by throwing a bomb. And after that, things were on as usual.
I think I had the same reaction as most people when they go there, that it's incredibly beautiful, but at the same time, it was a very moving place. All the things that are normally associated with beaches in Australia, which is a holiday sort of time or a fun, beautiful place, it was nothing like that. Because you know the history, it was filled with what we know about all the deaths that occurred there.
I've started with a couple of studies of the cove. So once this is set, or this is just the first layer of paint, so once I've left these to set, dry, get a bit of a skin on them, I'll be able to work back into them, go over them. So today I should be able to do about 4 sessions on these. So this is just the first layer of paint.
So while you're on the beach for 10 hours working slowly and quietly on your own, as tour buses are coming and going up behind you on the hill, you do think about what happened there. You don't really have any choice. You're not just painting a beach, you're painting at Anzac Cove because of what happened. As the waves came in and I started to hear the waves, which were really very calming and relaxing, but I started to count them and I thought, it's like each wave, each sound as it runs up those pebbles was like another person passing away.
I painted at the edge of the beach. It was very rocky and there were wildflowers, and I had the bay in front of me, and then behind, of course, were the cliffs. I just used fairly small pieces of paper and gouache, which is a water-based paint, which I find very good for trips away. I just squeeze out a bit of paint and just work like that. Do a little bit of drawing, sometimes a quick drawing too, but mostly I just start with the brush and use the gouache. That's the good thing about painting outside, because you sit there for that time and you look and let the whole experience pervade you, and you try and put something down. That's what I do wherever I go to paint. It's just sitting and becoming used to the environment around. And painting is one way of helping one to look and feel it.
I'm just coming back here to Hill 60 where my grandfather fought. We came and had a look the other day. Now I'm sort of coming back to make some paintings of the area, and so I'm going to spend a couple of days here, hopefully to work. Yeah, it's great. That's nice, it's just a bit of a convex kind of shape coming through there, and then there's another little set of hilly bits here with full of foliage, which is kind of nice. And look at that, see now you're putting that in, all of a sudden this bit of stuff which was just a bit of roller mark starts to transform in a way to clouds, and moving clouds at that. So that's kind of nice. I'm really trying to make some pictures about the landscape, how it has changed or how it might have revegetated. And in doing that, I'm not trying to depict in any exact way the landscape. I'm trying to make a metaphor for all of that experience, I guess.
So I'm still working on this one. This is the Sphinx. And I'm trying to get the scale of how impressive it was when we were there. But I haven't managed to do that yet. So I guess this one's been the most problematic. When you're standing on the beach under it, it is enormous. The odd bus will travel past, which then puts that into perspective. It gives you a scale. So from memory, I've been trying to recreate that here, which I haven't been able to succeed in doing yet, but I will keep going. Plein air painting, it's normally quick. You work quickly. It tries to it keeps things fresher when you're working quickly. Do you feel this need to rush because you're so used to working outside with the light changing or the weather changing? So even if I'm in here working on a painting that in theory I've got a year to do, I still work quickly. You can paint what you see, and then I try and bash them up a little bit. You know, I try and get the information down. But then I also try and bleed the edges or break them up so that they're not too photographic. Plein air painting is about looking, training yourself to look. At the end of the day, it still has to be a good painting compositionally. So while you might be painting what you're seeing, you then look at it and reassess it in 3 months' time, and it might not be a good painting. So you change it, which is losing the accuracy of where you may have done it. But you have to turn it into a good painting regardless of what you're looking at. So you make those editing choices to leave in or take out, add to still make a good painting, even if it's not completely accurate to where you'd painted it. So this is a new one that I've been working on. It's not quite finished, but it's a beach cemetery. And we were lucky enough to hire a boat. So we were able to see this cemetery, which is an Australian cemetery. And out of all the headstones that I read, how sad that his parents or someone put that on a headstone.
even though he didn't really win. So I'm going to call this painting well done, Ted.
I'll put it up here. The paintings I've done have just been a memory, an interpretation of some of the gouaches, a memory of how it was there. And I, yes, basically painted those cliffs and a little bit of the bay. Yes, the beach, a little. This one was looking up. It's a very free interpretation of being there, looking up through one of the sort of gullies to the cliffs and the, you know, the pines that are there at the top, and a little bit of the bay. So it's just a remembering. This one too, this also has the bay in the distance, and it's a gully, one of the gullies in the cliffs going up to the top. If I'm in an environment that I respond to, I want to make some sort of image. Yes, I really feel very happy sitting in those environments and trying to work out a way of interpreting them. Yes, I was just overwhelmed with sadness, really. Although it was beautiful, the sea was gorgeous, turquoise, and the little beach, the growth on the hills behind. It was all very pretty, but there seemed to be a sadness.
They're pretty heavy, these new aluminium panels. And you're looking for something that you can make a picture from. You produce a certain amount of works, and historically some of those work from site without actually doing much to them. But the process has been then to come back into the studio. Now, then what happens, I haven't got that direct reference in front of me. I would say that what happens is I don't remember things, but when I start to paint, the painting evokes memory. But it couldn't happen for me without being there, painting on site, dealing with the flies, the crap that falls on your picture, you know, all those things. They are intrinsically part of it. And so the big pictures come from memory, if you like. Historically, if you like, we see in a fairly objective way, and of course historians, that's of course what they do. But artists don't necessarily just work in that way, and I'm trying to make a metaphor in a sense, and beauty doesn't have historical fact. Peter Four used to talk about artists in a sense reclaiming something, rebirthing it, giving it another kind of life, because out of something that is intrinsically tragic, certain beauty comes. And good painting, and that's all I really want to do, is make really, you know, seriously good pictures. That's what it does. It takes you somewhere else, it transforms, it transcends. And landscape does that for you too.